Well, good day and welcome to our quick video on how to shingle something like a playhouse, which is what this is, or a shed, something small. If you've got something more serious, it's backbreaking work. You probably want to hire a pro that does this, and they'll do things like put a proper drip edge on, and they will have a lift to carry the shingles, up 3 stories to the top of your house or whatever. What we're going to show you how to do is how to shingle this properly, but not expertly. We're going to save you a few dollars by avoiding using the prefab cap, as it's called, which is the shingles that go along the ridge line along the top. And we're going to show you how to run a starter strip that will be just fine for something like this. We'll also save you some time and money by using a single nail, which is going to be a 2-inch nail rather than having to buy 2 sets of nails, a 1.5 inch and a 2.5 inch. Okay, let's go over some shingling basics. There are 2 kinds of shingles. There's this kind, and then there's 3-tab. 3-tab are the old kind. 3-tab, as you might suspect, have 3 tabs. These have more. Supposedly these are better. I don't much care. I'm only buying these because these match my house. Now, this is called the strike line. It's along here, and these shingles have a tar strip here with plastic on them that you can pull off if you want. It won't hurt anything to pull it off. Well, you'll see here, I'll put up a little blurb from GAF, which is the maker of these shingles. By the way, nobody sponsored this. Home Depot, GAF, nobody. This is all just me showing you how to do it because I got to do it, and what the heck. So I'm not being paid for this in any way. Okay, now, flipping this over, there's also tar strip along the back, and you think, well, that's not very gummy. It's not going to do much. Oh, yes, it is. As you'll see when we pull off the roof that I've already done here, which I'll show you in a few minutes here, you'll see how much this tar has heated up and melted and bonded and become, basically this whole thing has become one big sheet. And that tar strip, combined with that tar strip, proper nailing really helps. Now, one of the other areas that I cut a corner on was the paper. You can use, I've used tar paper here, also known as roofing felt, but you could get ice block, ice shield. I didn't, because it's a playhouse. I don't much care. I just simply want to keep it waterproof and looking good. I'm not trying to, protect my family. So this is what I'm doing is way more than a lot of people, and this will keep it nice and dry and safe. Okay, we're going to explain and demonstrate how to shingle, or in this case, reshingle, a shed or a playhouse like this one is, that I built for my kids a few years ago, and the shingles have gone. And we're going to show you how to do this with the least amount of effort and still make it waterproof and professional looking. Now let's take a look at some of the items you're going to need. First thing you're going to need is a ladder. As you can see here, I've got 2 set up because I want to use it as a type of scaffolding. You don't need to do this, you can just use a ladder or whatever you need to get up. Just make sure it's solid. Well, as far as nails go, what you need are some 2-inch roofing nails. Now, if you have 1 3/4 inch, that's fine. If you have 2.5 inch, that's fine. We'll explain why in a little bit. You also need a snap line. If you don't have one of these, don't worry, because you can use other things like chalk and level or something equivalent. If on these small jobs you can get away without it, but I've got one, so I'm going to use it. You need a measuring tape. You need a decent hammer. I have a work belt, but you don't need it, just handy to have. And you'll need some sort of tar paper. I've got some ice shield there, which is the one at the back, and just some more traditional tar paper here. And I'll probably just end up using the tar paper because this is just a playhouse. And of course, you will need shingles. Now, there are a bunch of different choices of shingles. The older ones are called 3-tab, and that's cleverly because they've got 3 tabs. These newer ones have more than that, and we're going to show you how to use these for the entire roof, including the cap at the top, which is a bit of a trick, but not challenging and works just great. You'll probably need a couple of bundles. I've just got the one here. And of course, to get rid of the, if you are re-roofing like I am, if you're getting rid of that, you'll also need a place to put the old shingles. Now, you would think you'll have to pay to take them away, but it turns out, at least in the city of Calgary, that, and I'll put it up on the screen right now, that they say if it's a small amount of shingles, like I'm going to have, you can just put them in your garbage bin. Yay! So that's what I'm going to do, but if I didn't have that, I would use my wheelbarrow, and then I would just get them into some sort of packaging and take them away to the dump. You want to dispose of these properly. Don't throw them in a ditch or do anything stupid with them. And you want to make sure you get all the nails, because when you're cutting the lawn later, well, that's going to hurt your legs if they shoot out and hit you. So you're going to want to make sure you do a good job. Okay, let's get to it. First thing we have to do is strip the old ones off. And that gets to what tool we need for that. And there is a roofing shovel, but I'm just going to use a regular flat shovel, like that one right there. Something to think about before you get started is to do this on a warm day. You just don't want to do this on a freezing cold day. The shingles, you want them to be warm and malleable, both the old ones to come off and the new ones to go on. So in my case, it's about plus 15, which is about 60 Fahrenheit. And that's about as good as I'm going to get this time of the year, so I'm taking advantage of it. All right, so it doesn't make any difference if you start at the top or the bottom. The idea is to get your shovel in there and pry it up. So best to start at an edge, unlike I've just done, just trying to show you how it works. So as I said, you want to make sure this is clean. So you don't have to do this, but I'm going to use a broom, sweep it off. If you notice any defects or large gaps, go spend $5 on some roof repair, put it in. Well, let's do a little bit, why not? In addition to keeping down the, reducing any gaps, it'll also help pull down tar paper, which we're about to put down. Okay, so now we take our tar paper, roof felt, ice block, whatever you want to call it. Now in a playhouse you don't need this, okay? You just don't. In a shed, you don't need it. But because this isn't fresh, this is the second time I've redone it, I really want to make sure it's waterproof, so I'm going to start with this. Now when you're doing this, you want to do the far sides first, and just like shingles work, from the bottom up, because the water has to run down and not get caught under here. So I'll do this side now, just the same as this. Alright, so my video showing how to do the starter strip got screwed up, so I'm going to just tell you how to do it here. It's pretty straightforward. Take a tile like this one, right, a roofing shingle like this one, and you want to cut it along this line, but you want to cut it on the back, obviously. So you just cut it along here, right, take a blade, cut it along here, and bingo, that piece is your starter strip. Just run that along all of your edges around your roof.
Always cut your shingles on the back, not the front.
Okay, so you should put the trim all the way around. I'm not going to, because one, I'm in a hurry, and two, it's just a playhouse. I don't really care. So when I say a playhouse, it's a, it's a shed. So we can start putting these tiles on, or these shingles on. And the thing to keep in mind is you want to stagger them. You don't want to have any joints on any joints. You want to make sure that everything is separated. So let's put this one on here and get to it. Okay, so either right at the start or after you've got the starter strips done, whatever, it doesn't make too much difference. You want to do a snap line like this one that I put along here. Let me explain why. Your house, your playhouse, probably isn't straight unless it's really small. So what you need to do is make sure that the top is straight. The bottom, to a lesser degree. The top is really where it counts, it's where the eye sees it. So what you want to do is transition from anything that's a little wonky to being straight at the top. So what you do, take your measuring tape, measure from the peak down about 2 feet. Now, if you don't have Canadian geese, bye fellas and gals. Now, if you don't have a snap line like this, don't sweat it. Just mark it a bunch of times. Mark your tar paper a bunch of times, and use a level, something long and straight. Even a board will do. Okay, that's a lot of geese. Okay, but I've got a snap line, so I'm going to use that. So there's a couple of ways to do this. The first way is just to hook the end in, drag it along and snap it. Way easier to do with two people, but I'm here by myself, so that's not going to work. If you have troubles getting it to stay at the end, just nail it down. Just tack it in. There we go. You probably want to snap that a couple of times. You'll find that it's a lot easier to nail standing up than it is to nail looking down. So I'm going to go on my ladder and start nailing these in. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is that the most important thing you can do with shingles, other than getting it started properly, is to make sure that your lines do not match up. So I would never, for instance, put this shingle here, because there's a line right here, so I'd need to move it over here, okay? You just never want to have an open spot for the water to go. You want it to be able to get into the groove, and then it's forced to come out of the groove because these are overlapped, more specifically underlapped. Okay, now, so up on your roof, there's a couple of things you're going to need that aren't completely obvious. The first is, get yourself a tape, a decent tape, not some little crappy thing. This doesn't have to be, you know, as serious as this, but just get a real tape measure. You'll need a straight edge of some sort. You'll obviously need a decent hammer. If you've got a job even as large as this, spend the money and buy yourself a decent framing hammer. Any kind of decent hammer. And the thing you're most unlikely to realize you need is a board. And you think, why the heck would I want a board on the roof? Well, that's because when you're cutting shingles, you don't want to cut them on the shingles. Cutting through it, not very nice. Destroying your work, not very nice. So bring up a board, and then that's where you do your cuts. Okay, let's go. Okay, I've got my first shingle lined up here, and I want it to hang off about a 1/4 inch over the edge, over the lip. I'll put up a video here showing you that when I put these nails in, that these GAF shingles are self-healing.
GAF engineered the strike zone nailing area, an up to 600% larger nailing target for faster, more accurate installations. How'd we do that? Our proprietary layer lock technology that mechanically fastens and strengthens the common bond. And nailing in the strike zone area means nails pass through 2 courses of shingles for secondary fastening. Layer lock technology in the strike zone nailing area enable a dual phase shingle-to-shingle seal. First, our legendary DuraGrip sealant pairs with the smooth microgranule surface of the strike zone nailing area for fast tack. Then, an asphalt-to-asphalt monolithic bond cures for durability, strength, and exceptional wind uplift performance.
The other thing you want to know is that you tack at each end, or nail it at both ends. And the reason why you do that is because shingles have a tendency to move, and you don't want them moving. So, I'll just show you. You need to put a minimum of 5 nails into these. If you're in a windy place, use 6. If it's in a place like this, you get away with 5, no problem. So what's interesting here is I just hit a roof truss, which is great. It makes it nice and solid. Just going through the sheeting below, not the best. It's just that's what you've got. So one of the reasons to use longer nails too. Much harder to come out. And when you're nailing these, you do not want to tear the shingle. So you just want to put it in so that it is flush. You don't want to smash it down and cut the shingle. And I want this side to butt up because it's the clean side. So how do I do that? Well, it's pretty simple. I measure from this end. So I just always hold this with my hand. Always cut shingles on their back, not on the front. And I'm going to measure 21 inches from there. Yeah, it's off about a 1/4 inch. It's just the way I want it. Now when you're nailing in here, make sure you're not over the edge. You need to make sure that you're nailing into, well, certainly at least the sheeting. Fortunately for me, I know that right along here, I have a joist. I have a truss, I should say. Okay, and you think this is flapping around. It won't. It will melt. It will heat. That tar will soak in, and you'll have something nice and solid shortly. Okay, now, what you can do you could use that piece you cut off here, and you could put it here. As long as these don't line up, you'll be okay. More like that, I should say. However, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use an entire sheet. I want to save doing the cut because this is a small enough job. Also, I don't like the way this just lines up. See how this tab lines up with this tab? Don't like that. I want them to be offset. Okay, well, these are actually still lining up pretty good, but that is unusual. Anyway, I'm still going to use this whole one because I don't want to make another cut and I don't want to cut down another shingle. And the way you do this is you simply line this up so that this is over top of the strike zone. I like to push it back so that it's, push it forward a bit so that it's on top of that bump. I want that tar to soak in to that. If you try to make it too short, what you might work, but what may happen is you'll end up with an air gap between here, and two things will happen. One, there won't be enough contact between that tar that's under there and that strike zone. There won't be enough tar to make that work. Secondly, the wind can get under there, and wind and rain, and I don't want that. So I try to pull it forward so that the tab is close. So that tar, I want that tar right on that edge. Okay. Okay, that gets to a few good points. There's just a bee swinging around me. Don't worry about it. They don't want to bite you. They don't want to sniff at you. They don't want to sting you. So if something comes up that scares you, just stay still. They don't bother me at all, so I don't have to do that. But yeah, little bee there, whatever. He'll go away. Another thing, a lot of people that are new to doing any sort of handiwork use their wrist and they get really tired really fast. Don't do that. The weight of the hammer, the hammer is an extension of your arm, not of your wrist. So the hammer does the work, not you. You want to keep the roof clean because the more things that you leave up here, the little bits, the more things get caught, the less the bond is between the shingles. So you want to make sure it's relatively clean. Another thing is, while you're throwing things off the roof, try to throw them into a bin or something, because otherwise you got to go pick them up, and that's no fun either. So think ahead, and well, you'll be ahead. Okay, so now you got a decision to make. Do you want to put another one down and wrap over the top? That's the right thing to do. Take your shingles and you wrap over the top. But if you're running low on shingles, you don't want to open another bundle. Well, this is probably enough that you can get away with just putting cap on. Now you can go to the store and buy cap, and if you're doing a house, for God's sakes, go buy cap. If you're not, you can use your leftover shingles. Now with 3 tabs, it's really easy. Just cut them this particular way. But I don't have 3 tabs. How am I going to do that? Well, what I'm going to do is cut this back a bit so that you can't see this, and I'm going to put it over top like that. And I'm just going to lay them out. Now these, for me, are just long enough to go over this entire top and cover both sides. So I can get away with this. The concern is, if anything gets in up here, this isn't really sealed. So if you're going to just put cap on, you're really going to want to do something with the shingle here. You're really going to want to run some silicone down it or something like that if you're trying to cheap out on it. I think I'm going to run an extra layer of shingles along here, but you don't have to. You can get away without it. So the question really relates to, do you need to break into that, that other bundle or not? I've just completed 2 bundles to do this roof, and I've got a whole pile of these left over, so I'm really close. It's a bad idea to leave this open. I don't want to get left with 80% of a bundle sitting in my garage for the next 10 years. So I'm going to see how much I have left. I don't think I have enough. I think I have to break into that bundle. Let's find out. Oh wow, I am 1 piece short. Okay, so I need 3 shingles, 2.5, and the extra half will finish off my cap. Now, I'm done up here, other than that, so I might as well cut that last one down on the ground, just easier. Something else to remember, if you're not comfortable doing this, don't do it. If you're afraid of heights, yeah, you know what, you can really get hurt falling off the roof. And even on just a single story, you know, you end up in the hospital for a long time with a broken back. So this isn't a challenge for me. Heights don't bother me. Please bother me. But this height doesn't bother me at all. Just a note. If you're doing the peak and you find that it's in the middle of this, what you need to do is bend it a little bit in advance. If you bend it a lot, it will crack. Don't do that. In my case, my ridge line is right in the center, so I'm okay. But sticking up a bit. It won't be once I put the cap on top. So I'm gonna jam a couple in here as well, right through the shingle. The cap is gonna go right over top of this, like that. You get it? Now, like I said before, if you're going to do this on a house or something, you know, really important, go buy cap. It's, you know, 45 bucks Canadian, about double the price of regular shingles, but just not necessary for what we're doing. So what you got to do is cut these back onto a 45-degree angle. Now, I can do this up here, but it's way easier to do this on the ground. And considering I have to do it with all of them, I'm going to do it on the ground. Okay, depending on what we cut out of this video, we've mentioned a number of times, do not leave heavy equipment on the roof. It's going to hit you in the head. You could throw these down on the ground, but I don't want to damage them, so I will just carry them down. Okay, remember I said 45? Yeah, I was kidding. I meant like 30. So it wants to be like that. Again, cut it from the back and just cut the overlap part, not the actual shingle part. Okay, lay the cap on its side and just get to it. You need to nail it in. By the way, this is why you bought 2-inch nails. If you bought 1.25-inch nails, these might not be long enough. You need to make sure that this goes all the way through, what, 3 layers of shingles plus the sheathing and hopefully into some studs or whatever else. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to go into studs, but it would be helpful. That went into a stud. You're not going to be able to tell, but trust me, there's a shiny galvanized nail there. And you think, oh my God, people will see it. No, they won't. But if you're worried about it, you just take some tar and the little tar that we had earlier, or even silicone, doesn't make a difference. Take anything sticky. Take some glue, put it on there, and there'll be enough of this, these little rocks left from the bags that you had of, you know, the bundles of shingles. You can just put that on top and it will hide it. You don't need to do that. Nobody's going to see it. The big thing here is make sure these lay flat. And they gotta lay flat. So this one, I'm gonna have to bend a bit. Now, the key here is to not break it. So you need to do this on a warmer day. You just bend a little bit, give it a little bit of a crease. Okay, like that. Or you can just go by cap, and then this is already done. And then you won't have any troubles. I do not want to spend an extra $45 on this roof, so I'm not going to. There, that looks good. And you just start nailing it down. Just like regular shingles. You want to put about 4 into these. And on the end piece, you want to put a few more, than 4. So I'm going to put in, well, a few more than, I'll probably put in 6, maybe 8, depending on how it's sitting. This is sitting down quite nicely, so not a problem. But there we go. Now, just a quick note. You really want to put these in the opposite direction to the prevailing winds. So the wind's here. Normally the wind comes this way, which means this would be put in wrong. However, in my case, the winds around here, because the trees seem to swirl and come this way. So this is doing it the right way. If I was really worried about this, I could put some tar down under here, but as you know, there's already tar there, and it will heat when this gets hot, and it will seal. So you don't have to do that. Something to note is you don't want to nail too close to the edge here. You want to nail, you know, an inch or so in. Got lucky there and hit a stud. Hopefully the roof truss goes like this and I'll catch all of them. Yep. Yay. Now, something to be aware of is the edge. I just looked over my shoulder because I don't like dying, and it just occurred to me I was getting close. So yeah, just be aware of that. I'm not a big fan of the hospital. Okay, so for this one, I have to trim off this extra edge here. Okay, so I've cut this one so it's flush with the edge. And this is a double one, so I'm going to have to, this is double here, so I'm going to have to give it a gentle bend without cracking it. That's the key. Don't crack it. There you go. I took one of the shingles, like this, and I cut the top off. So it's like that. And I probably could have cut back a little more, but I'm not too worried about it. All I want to do is cover up that sort of messy strip right there. That will settle down, that will sit down as soon as the heat gets on it. But that's not today, it's a cool day. That looks pretty good to me. Now, it looks like this cap is actually sitting up, but it's not. It's just the way the sun's hitting it. It's that time of the day where the sun gets long. Let's just take a closer look here. This looks pretty darn good to me. Here's a roof that's going to stand up for another, oh, well, these are 25-year shingles, so I expect they'll stand up for at least another 20 years. Now, before we go, we want to show you what the inside looks like, and you think, that's a lot of nails. I don't want my kids poking their heads on that. Well, there's an easy fix, which is to get some styrofoam insulation. This styrofoam pack was $15, and it will cover those nails beautifully. You can see you wouldn't need very many of them. I got this at Home Depot. Again, they have not paid us. Nobody has paid us. But 15 bucks. And you'd have that semi-insulated, your playhouse or shed. And you'd cover up those nails very nicely, and you wouldn't have to glue that in or anything. The nails would just hold it there beautifully. That looks very sharp to me. Alright, if you found this video useful, would really appreciate it if you would click like. Subscribe is also great. You know, click the thumbs up down at the bottom. Super appreciated. Really helps with the Google algorithm. If you have any questions or concerns, just put them in the comment section below. We'll get back to you, or somebody else will. And you can always get a hold of us at www.urtech.ca. That's urtech.ca. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.